In the minds of many, modern-day virtual reality really started with the release of the Oculus Rift CV1 and the HTC Vive back in 2016, quickly followed later that year by the release of the PSVR. And around this time, mainstream gaming media started to cover all these devices with varying degrees of apathy.
This VR stuff's... I don't know, man.
But regardless of just how lethargic their coverage was, a small percentage of gamers around the world started to acquire that spark of interest in this new way to play video games. Because, let's be honest, VR is a medium incredibly well suited to gaming. Immersing yourself into a world and having agency and superpowers beyond your everyday life is something that is incredibly compelling. This is why Oculus, later Facebook and Meta, and Sony capitalised on this primary gaming use case in order to sell the concept of virtual reality to a large audience. VR in the intervening years has become almost synonymous with gaming. But here's the thing, virtual reality is not gaming. Virtual reality is a concept. It's a concept which allows humans to use various pieces of technology to fool their senses and transport themselves to different places, planets, galaxies, universes, or, as in related technologies such as augmented reality, a way to manipulate and enhance their everyday environments. It's not just a way to play games in 3D or feel like you're in the game. It's incredibly well suited to that use case, as I've mentioned, but that's not the end potential of what this concept promises. It's a step to show the initial forerunners in following their technology, the gamers, exactly what is possible. VR is often viewed through the lens of a hardcore gamer. I got into VR because I wanted to play games. That's all I want to do with this technology. If that's you, then you're in luck, because just to reiterate one more time, VR is incredibly well suited to gaming. Most of the big VR content creators on YouTube or other platforms come from a gaming background, not necessarily a general technology background, and that's why most of the coverage around other aspects of how VR can be used has been distorted through this narrow field of view lens. If it ain't gaming, then it ain't gonna get the clicks. And I'm being harsh there, because what I really mean is it isn't going to get the interest from an industry which has carefully cultivated an audience of primarily gamers. The difficulty many people seem to be having right now is that the VR gaming use case is so incredibly ingrained in gamers who also follow the VR industry in general that when Apple released their spatial computing device, read VR headset, the Apple Vision Pro, they seem to invoke so much confusion from a majority of the VR audience paying attention in 2024. Let me just go back again. Virtual reality is a concept. Augmented reality is a concept. It's not a single type of technology you can put a name on. When someone says, do you have VR? We all know what they mean. Do you have a technological brick that you put on your face to play games? And that's the big mistake around all of this. VR and AR won't always be a brick we wear on our faces. The technology will change, but the central concept of what it is won't. It will probably always be something that allows us to play games in the most immersive way, but it will also allow us to enhance plenty of other aspects of our lives. This is why the Apple Vision Pro makes sense for the very company putting it out there. It's a step to break down the taboo of awkward immersive technology which many people scoff at. It's a way for a company to begin the process of allowing the technology, casually disregarded by 100 mainstream gaming journalists, to break into public awareness and overshadow all that previous disregard. Will the Apple Vision Pro achieve all of this in the first generation of the device? No, of course not, and it probably won't even come close. It might still be disregarded and it might still be scoffed at, but it will make those gradual steps in introducing and normalising the technology to an audience of billions beyond the most hardcore technology or gaming enthusiasts. So what is the point in the Apple Vision Pro? Well, I suppose like them or not, it's the first step in an attempt by Apple, a company embedded in the public awareness as leaders in consumer technology, to show that the concept of VR is something not just for gamers, but for everyone. Whether they call the Vision Pro a spatial computer or a VR headset is almost meaningless at this point. A brick on your face is VR as far as the awareness of the mainstream with even a passing interest in technology understands. The Apple Vision Pro is vindication for an industry which has come to expect being looked down on or scoffed at for not looking right, or being nothing more than a gaming peripheral. Apple are in no way the forerunners or the pioneers who understood that VR and AR is a concept for a huge number of radical use cases beyond gaming. That honour goes to the thousands of companies and industry professionals who have been beating that drum for literal decades. But once again, like them or not, Apple could be the ones to actually make the cultural impact the technology needs to truly take off. I'm a firm believer in the potential of VR technology. I love playing games in VR, but I'd be a fool to convince myself that that's where the potential ends.